Check, check. Hey, hey. So we will see. Yo, hey. Sorry about that. Let's see. I'm going to play the mix just to hear. Alright, that's probably good enough. Alright. We'll see. Check out the live stream here. So, let me know if you who's watching. We're going to go over mixes today, so this is just mix feedback. I think I'm going to be doing this instead. All right. I can hear it. Cool. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing this probably instead of written feedback. I mean, I still might do a little bit of that, but I feel like from now on with these mix competitions, I'll do a live stream. I'll do 2 live streams during that week period where the tracks are up and everybody's mixing them. And so, yeah, this is the second one I've done. Today is the deadline for Beat My Mix 4. You can submit it, your mix to Home Studio Rescue. Hey, Zach, how you doing, man? Good to see you. All right, since you're here, let's go over your mix first. And yeah, so it's going to be over live stream. I think that's going to be, I think that's, for me, that's easier than, I don't know, keeping track of all this stuff. It also makes, I'm still figuring it all out. So anyways, all right, so we're going to check out Zach's mix first. And I think there's going to, you were asking me, Zach, about top 4 stuff, or getting into the top, like, 3. I think I'm going to make it a top 4, and then we're going to have voting on the YouTube channel, and then from there, Jason, the guy who wrote this song, okay, no worries, man. Sounds good. So, yeah, I'm going to make a top 4, and yeah, so you guys can vote on that. But also Jason, I think he's going to make a lot of the decisions about this Beat My Mix, just because it's his song. I'll have a voice in it, obviously, too. But anyways, all right, here's Zach's mix. Let's check it out. Nice. I like the guitars, where the vocals are, all that. Before I comment, I think you know what I'm going to say. I think this sounds a lot better than the last mix, Zach. So I tried to mix. I was messing with this a little while ago before the live stream, and I'm having a hard time getting the snare to like be what I want it to be. I hear a fatter, more present snare, and I'm having a hard time with it. But I'll say that I say that to say, you know, I still feel like the snare's a little thin, but I'm struggling with it too. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Let's keep listening. Let's go. It's not bad though. I mean, it sits in a good spot in the mix. I feel like the claps could be a little more mono, or they could be moved into mono and down a little bit, just because they aren't really that great of claps. Sounds good though. Guitars sound awesome. Yeah. This is my favorite part of the song, I think. I love that guitar. It's nice right up the middle. What I would do is automate panning here. Take that octave guitar, take it to the right or the left or something, and bring it down a little bit. But it sounds good. Okay. I'm listening to the background vocals. Yeah. The leads sound good. And I like how that main lead part's on this side. Those toms sound huge. I mean, that's awesome. It sounds good, man. I really appreciate all the work you're putting in on that mix. The toms sound huge. The drums sound huge. The guitars sound huge. I mean, the balance is really good. It's that damn snare drum, and I say that not because of you, but just I'm struggling with it too. Yeah, it's like I wish I could get the snare to be as big as the toms, or in that realm, you know. So that I think is that's like the level to be shooting for, where it's like that snare is just big and punchy. But overall, good mix, man. Let's go to Demetris. Doom guitar. Yeah. That's cool. You're welcome, man. Yeah, you're doing a good job. Let's see. So also, just for everybody, also if you're watching, please comment. And if you submitted a mix, definitely comment. So these tracks are still available for download. The deadline is like tonight. I live here on the East Coast, so basically I get up somewhere between 6 and 8. Tomorrow I'll definitely be up by 8 at the latest. So as long as your mix is in my inbox at homestudiorescue@gmail.com, you still have a chance to win. The winner of this competition is going to get $100 and mix credit for this song. This is a song that was recorded in this room and at a cabin in Stanton, Virginia. The drums were. And so we haven't put this out yet, so you have a chance to get the mix credit, and win a little bit of money. So here we go, Demetris. Let's check out your mix, man. Some Verb. It's cool. The guitars are thick.
I fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing up it anymore. I could have found you, but I wasn't looking for you anymore. Had a lot of fun last night. It got me thinking about the good times. Every now and then we get it right. I see it clearly and I realize
Sounding good. It's definitely guitar driven. Also, let me know if my voice is in a good level in comparison to the music, or if the music is too loud. I can hear the bass well, the guitars. I think the vocals are sitting in a good spot. Again, it's hard to have it be a guitar-driven song and then want the drums to be loud, but that's, that's kind of, I'm a drum guy. I'd rather have the drums, I'd rather have a drum-driven song, but I do feel like this is a guitar-driven song, so I struggle with getting that balance of having the drums punchy and loud, but also not having the guitars tucked so low. But this is definitely guitar-driven. I think Jason would rather have it more guitar-driven than drum-driven, but I feel like the drums could come up. They're a little bit low, but that's just a taste thing. Yeah, and it might be that the snare is out of phase. Everything else sounds really good. Nice, man. The guitars sound great. The vocals are sitting in a good spot. I would just work on the drums a little bit, getting those a little bit punchier. It's a hard thing to do, to get loud, punchy guitars, and it's a choice. I think like the Foo Fighters, that's more guitar driven. That's what Dave Grohl would say, or I've heard him say that. Nirvana was more like drum driven. But maybe it's just about what he's playing. I don't know. But I like the drums to be more up front. All right, Turan. This is mix 2 for Turan. Definitely say hey in the chat. I did kind of make it where you have to subscribe to the channel. So maybe, I don't know. I appreciate the comments and anything. If you got anything to chime in, please do. So, all right, Turan, here you go, man. Hey, Demetrius. Your mix sounded good, man. This is kind of where I want the snare sitting, or at least, yeah, how I would like it. Sounds good. This is more in line with kind of how I mixed it a little bit. For better or worse. My mix, you guys kicked my mix's ass, I'll say that. That sounds great. I just feel like I'm going to talk about the snare drum the whole time. Yeah, like I hear more bottom snare, and I don't know how to fix that exactly because I have the same issue. It feels like it's kind of thin, but the snare is at least punchy. So I'm going to try to stop talking about the snare in every mix, but that sounds good. It's rocking. I like where the vocals are. I wish there was more background vocals. Nice. Cool. That's a good mix, man. Yeah, I mean, I think it's talking about the balance between getting the guitars loud, getting the drums loud, and that definitely had more drums than some of the other ones so far, more snare drum at least, so I don't know, that was a good mix. Let's check out Eric's mix. This was his first mix. He's been doing some of the Beat My Mix stuff, so if you guys don't have the tracks, please download them. There is a link in the description. You can get them for free. This is Eric. There's some top end on this that is a little bit harsh. Toms are definitely poking out. Some reverb on that snare drum, that's cool. So what I'm hearing in the toms is like 5 to 10K, like something like that, maybe even 2K. It's just a little too bright for my taste. It's kind of a clacky sound, I don't know. And they're a little loud. The guitars, I don't know, they feel like a little bit muffled. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, I'm just giving you my honest opinion. But it sounds good. It's cool. The drums are present. The vocals are sitting in a good spot. Little tuby. Yeah. just sounds like some of the highs, like it's interesting because the toms have some highs, the drums have some highs, but the guitars kind of sound cut off. Like maybe you used a low pass filter, which I do that sometimes with guitars, but I don't know if it's necessary for this. But it just a little there's a lot of mid-range stuff going on, and then some brightness issues. It might be compression. If you guys are watching and I'm commenting on this, if you have any questions or whatever, you guys, we can go back and forth. You know, I'd love to hear. You know, if you're watching and we're listening to your mix, you know, please comment along. So I feel like the drums kind of lost a little bit of something there. Yeah, there's just something crunchy going on. Something between like 200 and 400 hertz. I think the bass guitar is a little bit, it's like the drums are underneath the bass guitar. Like it's pretty present. It's pretty bass driven. The lead guitar could come up a little bit. Yeah, and there's a lot of brightness on those toms. I'd go for more, I mean, honestly, they don't need a lot of EQ. You might just need to clean up like 500 hertz or something, like a little bit, like 3 dB. But that's cool, man. That's definitely a different vibe. It's got a vibe to it. It's got a sound. So, Eric, thank you for submitting, man. I hope my feedback was helpful. So, Giuseppe, let's check out your mix, man. Cool. Some big toms. Nice. That snare's bright. Sounds like a lot of bottom snare. Kick's got a lot of low end, kind of boomy. There's some boom stuff going, but the drums are present. Like the snare is nice and present. It's a little bright though. I'm making that noise at. It just feels like all I do is talk about the drums. So that it's not about the mix. It's just that I don't feel like I'm at. I don't know. It's just I don't know if I'm giving great feedback. Yeah, just a lot of bottom snare. I would bring down that bottom snare and try to get the top snare to pop out a little bit more. And there again, there's a top end thing happening that there's just a brightness that I think is somewhere in the 2K, anywhere from like 2K to like 10K up. That'll just get, it can be harsh if you're boosting a lot. But it might just be the bottom snare. I don't know if it's really compressed or something. The vocals are a little hot, and the guitars could stand to come up some. Yeah, Zach, I agree. Unfortunately, I just feel like I've been talking about the snare drum for this whole time, or probably every Beat My Mix, but me too. Like, definitely getting the snare drum in check. It's trying to get a nice fat present snare, but I didn't do you guys any favors because I did not put the snare drums in phase. And I should have said that in the when I announced these tracks. You're gonna have to fix the phase on them. And that's a normal thing when you've got a top and bottom snare mic on like if you got a 57, this bottom mic, it needs to be flipped. You got to flip the phase. It helps to align them together and then align them with the overheads, and also to make sure that the overheads are aligned and in phase. And when you do that, it helps. I mean, it's not going to fix everything, but I used to mix snare drum, and that's probably what's happening here. I didn't know about phase. And so when I used to mix snare drum, I'd be adding 200 hertz. Yeah, to me, kick and snare are the most important parts of the drum mix. I mean, the toms obviously for this song are important because they're very. It's supposed to be dynamic. That's where if there's any dynamics in the song, it lives in the toms. But kick and snare are the most important thing in the mix as far as drums go. Then it's vocals. It's getting the bass in line with the kick and then outside of that, it's like if you get the vocals right, the bass drum, the snare drum, and the bass guitar, everything else, it's like you're onto a great, like that's the foundation of a great mix is getting the snare, like getting those kick and snare. That's the most important thing. And phase is a huge part of that. So I should have warned you guys, hey, you're going to have to mess with the phase. But this is something where if you guys ever mix music for other people, or like I've got people that they record tracks remotely and send them to me. And so when that happens, I have to check this shit no matter what. If they did it right or not, or if they didn't fix it, those are things you got to learn to listen to it and hear this is out of phase. Hey, Giuseppe, how you doing, man? Yeah, so anyway, same old, me just talking about snare drum and phase. So Giuseppe, if you heard all that, just basically, I feel like the top and bottom snare, the bottom snares, yeah, there's a lot. Okay, so there's a lot of top on your snare, maybe on your snare drum. Maybe it's adding brightness to it. But okay, the last point I'm going to make about snare drum phase is I used to mix the snare drum top and bottom, and I didn't know how to do the phase. I think it's the bottom, man. I think that it's too hot. You got to get the fatness from the top of the snare and bring that, and then you kind of bring the bottom snare in gradually to get some of that crack or whatever, the brightness of it. But long story short, I used to add 100 to 200 hertz to my top snare drum mic, and it still sounded thin. I could never get a fat sounding snare drum. And that was because it was out of phase. The moment I fixed that, the snare drums have to be in phase, and then they need to be in phase with the overheads. And that's how you get a fat snare. So like a very punchy, fat snare with all that top in, you can then you can balance the top and bottom snare mic, and it's going to sound good. So let's keep going. The vocals are in a good spot. I feel like the guitars could come up a little bit, but the EQ's they might need some EQ. I like where the lead is. The kick sounds pretty good. And the toms aren't bad. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of boominess in some of it, but yeah, so cool. Thanks for joining the chat and everything and tuning in, Giuseppe. Good mix, man. So hopefully all this feedback is helpful. And like I said, like I was mixing this song an hour ago, I'm still trying to figure out when I've just been busy, but when I have time, I'd like to do a mix this week and at least throw it in there. But yeah, I'm having trouble with getting the snare drum to be as punchy as I want. So, all right, we're going to check out Jack B, his mix. Jack was one of my coaching clients for studio stuff, just helping him build a little home studio or getting gear. Let's see what he's got going on. He's in Ireland. A little bit of clipping. So I don't think he's got the main chuggy or chunky guitars in.
I fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing up it anymore. I could have found
So-
but I wasn't looking for you anymore. Had a lot of fun last night. It got me thinking about the good
So the vocals,
times. Every now and
I'm
then
trying
we
to
get it
figure out how to
right. I
talk
see
about it.
clearly and I realize that
Jack is mixing in a hybrid setup. He mixes on a board, and he really, how can I say this? Yeah, so yeah, he's not really able to use a DAW, like a digital audio workstation. Yeah, the vocals are loud. He uses Reaper, and then he's mixing everything to a board, and he's got some stuff working against him. I'll just leave it at that. But at any rate,
for you
there's some things that are going on with the way he has to mix and how he has to set up things where I think he's having some issues with his routing and whatnot. And I also don't know if he got all the tracks in, or got all the tracks in.
It got me thinking about the good times. Every now and then we get it right. I
So
see
the
it
kick
clearly
is
and I
kind of over to the
realize
left. I think, as you guys can see here on the wave file, if I zoom in, the left and the right, the right side is not as loud as the left side. So, Jack, you might want to just make sure that the way you're bouncing it is doing it correctly. I know for Christian's mix, he had. I'm going to show you guys. When he was bouncing, at least what I could see or what I think is going on. So if you look right here for Christian's mix, he's got a left and right. It was basically bounced as multi-mono. So if I do a bounce, see right here, it says multi-mono. And really you need to bounce it at interleaved or whatever that is. But yeah, I would always bounce it that way. I don't like the interleaved, not multi-mono. And so I don't know what's going on, but I think the level isn't as loud for Jack's mix on the right side as it is on the left side. That's also why the vocals, everything, it's left dominant right now. I feel like it would be a good mix, except one side's louder than the other. Like the drums sound pretty good here, but he's mixing off of a console. He does everything analog, and he has a hard time seeing things off the computer. He has some vision issues, and so it makes it hard. I really wish he could just. He doesn't have the advantages we have to mix in a DAW. Like he's got to do everything analog. So yeah, Jack, if you're watching, man, what I would say is just try to get the levels. Like, make sure that your faders are even for however you're bouncing the mix down. And then two, I know Jack doesn't have he doesn't have limiters to make the mix loud. I've also level matched these mixes to about plus 15 or to the best of my ability. So I think, unfortunately, man, it's not really fair for us to judge you right now when the right and the left aren't completely balanced. So that's what I would work on, Jack, just making sure that happens. I think the drums would sound good. Yeah, anyways, so that's what I got for you, Jack. Good luck with that, man. Let me know if you have any questions or need any help with that. I'll try to help. Yeah, in the box mixing is it's a blessing. It's such a blessing. I did hybrid and analog, and I used to have all this outboard gear, and I'd mix through a summing bus. I had 24 channels of dangerous summing, and I'd have kick and snare. I'd have a distressor, a 2-channel EQ. I'd be able to EQ my kick and snare analog. I had an 1176. I had a bunch of stuff. I had an API 2500 I put on my mix bus. The biggest pain of it was doing recall. We live in a day and age where a lot of the bands I work with, every project, it's at least like somewhere between 4 to 7 mix corrections. And maybe that's because I let them do that, but you have to be able to recall, and just being in the box and clicking one button and your mix pops up exactly like it was yesterday. That's such a huge blessing. So, that's not how Jack is able to work, unfortunately. But yeah, it's tough because we have so many plugins, awesome plugins to use. But anyway, all right, here's Axum Rise. Here's his second mix. Let's check it out. Nice. I like the intro coming into it. That's kind of cool. The guitars sound good. There's a nice snap on the kick. It's cool to hear the differences between everyone's mixes. There's definitely some samples in the kick and snare. The bass is nice and punchy. It's tucked in well. There's some drive on that bass. It might be a little too much fuzz for my taste, but I get it. The only thing I would say on I think the effects are cool. The delay, I don't know if it's maybe less feedback on the delay or just bringing it down some, but yeah, I mean, I dig the effects. It's just, it feels like it's kind of taken over at times. I don't know if it's reverb where maybe it's just not ending quick enough and so there's just too much of a tail, but I feel like it's kind of bouncing into each other a little too much. That would be my feedback at this point. Got this it's got a heavier feel. It's a little bit more metal. Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, it's definitely more in the metal realm yeah, I feel elements of metal. I definitely feel the triggers and all that stuff. It's definitely punching through the mix. Kick's a little bright. He tuned the harmony to sing in a minor harmony. Yeah, you're catching stuff I'm not catching, man. Maybe I'll rewind back to the chorus here. C. Maybe this chorus. I know there's more vocals. I would also suggest in the verse, it's cool to bring up the effects in the chorus, but I would make the verses more dry. And then make it get bigger in the choruses. Just because this song it's a pretty straightforward rock song. There's a little dynamic in the second verse, but outside of that, it's just heavy the whole time. Yeah, the vocals sound good. That's cool. You're saying the last get it right, he makes it minor. It's tasty. That's cool. So this is where I'd cut delay some. It's a cool effect. Yeah, I mean, if this was a high school yearbook, he definitely wins best background vocals award. That sounds pretty cool. Good job, Blaze, man. So yeah, cool. I guess my final critique would just be a little less ambient for this song. But yeah, man, it sounds good. So we're gonna check out Christian's mix now. You'll see that I just spread this out stereo. It's a left and right, so we'll see. Uh, but I messaged Christian about it and just said, "Hey, man, can you try to do it interleaved or whatever the hell that word is?" So here we go. Some thunderous toms. I feel like there's like a transient designer or something on those toms. What I would suggest is either editing the toms or gating them a little bit just because they're ringing out a little too long. They sound huge. Maybe a gate. I like the kick. And the snare's pretty good too. It's in a pretty good spot. I feel like the vocals could be a little bit brighter. Or maybe even up just a little. Guitars are really big. Maybe the guitars could come down just a little bit. Maybe the guitars could come down just a little bit. And then you wouldn't have to turn up the vocals. Yeah, those toms sound cool. I think just gate them. They might be a little loud. I get it during the intro part where it's just bomb bomb. I get having them there, but maybe you tuck them down when that's not happening a little bit. Gating those toms and then tucking them down. That's what I'm thinking. Or yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah. I tried to do this, so I did 2 o'clock just thinking like it's 8 o'clock over, in Europe and, and on the West Coast, maybe people are on their lunch break or whatever, something like that. Like, because I do have some people, like there's people in Norway, there's people in Peru. It's really, it's amazing that so many different people from all over the world can mess with this stuff and that we can interact, but that's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. You're one of the only people commenting right now, so I appreciate that. But anyway, let's keep checking out Christian's mix. It's a pretty big kick drum. And the snare's in a good spot. And the bass and drums are pretty tight, pretty locked in. I like where the lead is. Sounds good. Yeah, that's. I think it's a solid mix. I think obviously there's a lot of toms in this song, so if you can gate the toms and bring down a little, like they're maybe a little too boomy. Something's boomy. It might be. I mean, I feel like the kick is nice and fat, but I'd bring down the toms and gate them, and I think from there that would clean it up, and I think that would be a really solid mix. That's definitely a contender if you can get the toms and all that stuff under control. So right now, to be honest with you, Zach, I appreciate you watching, but I mean the snare, we can check out your mix just because you're still here. I think the snare is the biggest thing to work on. I'll just go to the verse. Let me make sure that everything isn't on here. I ain't climbing up it anymore. I could have found you. Yeah, less bottom snare, more top, and I don't know. You might have to add a sample. I don't know if you do triggering or something, but
Fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing.
yeah, it just that needs work. Right now, I think this VSO, that guy's name is actually Nilton, I believe. But I honestly will check out Edgar and Nilton's mix. I don't think Edgar did a mix correction yet. I think he's pretty right now. These are my two top mixes right now. We'll see too what Jason says. But here's Nilton or VSO. The delay is a little out of time on the guitar, and that's the only thing that yeah, the delay, and then I don't know, something. I don't know if I love the delay on the intro guitars. I don't know if it needs it. Maybe reverb or something, but yeah. There's a lot of high end on those guitars. It's a little too bright. Maybe I just have it too loud. I mean, that sounds better. I just turned on my headphones.
I fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing up it anymore.
They sound good now.
Could've found you, but I wasn't looking for you anymore.
They're pretty
Had a lot of
crispy.
fun last night. It got me thinking about the good times. Every now and then we get it right. I see it clearly and I realize I'm falling.
The background vocals are a little too loud.
First time for everything.
And I feel like the chorus, I don't know, maybe the guitars could come up some. I just kind of wish they were a little thicker. And the bass, I think the bass, maybe that's what's missing, is just a little more bass. This part's very bass driven. I like where the balance is so far here.
I fell off of that hill
A little less vocals, more tucked in.
anymore. I could have found you, but I wasn't looking for you anymore. I had a lot of fun last night. It got me thinking about the good times. Every now and then I get it right. I see it clearly and I realize
I like the toms, they sound really nice and tight.
down, but there's a first time for everything.
It's a pretty good balance.
Down, but there's a first time for everything. I'm falling down.
I like, so the delays and all that stuff on that intro guitar aren't there at the end, and I like that better. With the delays, also they might be out of time. I mean, well, the song is at 120 BPM, I believe. But all right, so let's check out Edgar's mix, and I'll play mine as well. So let's see here. Big toms. Okay. There's a brightness in that last mix that's, I don't know. I feel like the guitars were a little harsh.
Fell off of that hill before.
I like how tight the intro is. There's a little too much low end somewhere, maybe in the toms or the kick, which I think we've said that before.
I fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing up it anymore. I could have found you, but I wasn't looking for you anymore. Had a lot of fun last night. It got me thinking about the good times. Every now and then we get it right. I see it clearly and I realize
I like where the background vocals were. It's a solid balance. I like the kick. I wouldn't mind a little more electric guitar, like the rhythm guitars. A see what this does. Those toms sound great.
I fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing up it anymore.
I would keep the vocals more mono here, except for the backgrounds. They could come in. Like, that's fine. I'd make the main vocals more stereo in the choruses. That crash cymbal's maybe a little out of control. I feel like that's just what happens when, you know, you're compressing cymbals or room mics or overheads too much. I don't know, but that rides or the crash is a lot. It's just kind of eating it. Yeah. That's something to work on, is the crash cymbal. Cool. All right, that's a pretty good mix. Now, after listening to this song for 45 minutes, maybe I'll check out my mix one more time. I know mine's just very. It wasn't much of a mix. It was just really quick. Yeah. It's very dry. I like the tone. That's kind of the tone I'm going for the snare drum. I think everything's a little bit low, maybe. I don't know. It's definitely not as boombastic as the mixes you guys have been doing. There should be more guitar. So anyway, that is the feedback I have for everybody's mix so far. Let me just check and see if there's any more mixes submitted. So you guys got till basically tomorrow morning. All right, so Demetrius just did another mix. So, well, we'll see. We'll just check it out. I like the guitars on the side. A little too much effects for my taste on the lead.
I fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing up it anymore. I could have found you, but I wasn't looking for you anymore. Had
Pretty good.
a lot of fun last night.
The snare sounds good.
Thinking about the good times. Every now and then we get it right.
Is it too much low end, or you like the low end? I like the snare on the chorus. That's great. Nice. Thanks, man.
I fell off of that hill before. I ain't climbing up it anymore. I could have found you, but I wasn't looking for you anymore. I had a lot of fun last night. It got me thinking about the good times. Every now and then I get it right. I see it clearly and I realize
Only thing I would say there is maybe a little less background vocals, but they're really close. I mean, I am picking nits at that point. Maybe 1 or 2 dB, maybe 3 at the most. So, Edgar, if you are still watching or you're watching at this point, I, not to say I don't want to hear the crash cymbal. Like in this mix, the crash cymbal is much less. I don't know, but I'm fine with it. You know, I don't need to hear a lot of crash cymbal. It was eating your mix. This one, there's not as much in there. Up here it is. It's a pretty good balance. Well, why did it stop? I guess it's still downloading, but cool. Demetrius, that's a pretty good mix, man. Yeah. So at this point, it's tough. It's tough. Thanks, Zach. Yeah, man. I think honestly, the reference is a great reference for the snare drum. It's just kind of fat. It's present. I don't know where the bottom snare is in that, but I don't think it's very loud. And that's also a DBX 160. That's pretty much everything. I mean, you guys have probably seen all these videos, or especially you, Zach. You've probably seen them to know. I just put DBX 160 on it, and sometimes I'll use the lo-fi plugin to add a little bit of hair, and then I'll boost somewhere around 200, 220 hertz on the snare drum, the top of it. But honestly, this is still really close, and like I said, I'm going to try to give this a good mix. I have been listening to the hell out of this song just because of your guys' submissions, and then I've been working on this song for six months, I guess, as far as recording it, so I'm a little fried. I don't know how good. Yeah, a little chunkiness, yeah. I want some chunk in that snare. I mean, like think of, well, I don't know, the fat kid from Sandlot. I don't know. I need a little bit of that. I need some chunkiness in the snare drum. It can't just be thin. It can't be too much bottom snare. There's got to be some fatness, some girth. But yeah, like I want to do a mix to compete with you guys. I feel like my mix has its good points, but the guitars aren't loud enough. Like I want chunkier guitars. Like you guys have had some really thick guitars. But also there's some brightness going on. I don't know. That's kind of, mine is very dark, which is common. You know, I usually don't add a lot of top end to stuff. But anyway, it's close. I mean, to be honest, chugging and chunk. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, make it chuggy and chunky. So could be a t-shirt, maybe. But anyway, yeah, right now, Nilton and Egger are my favorite mixes. Like Zach, I think yours sounds good. You just need more work on the snare drum. And Demetrius, that was a good mix too. I downloaded it. I'm going to throw it in here as well. Those are the ones that have stood out to me so far. Jason and I will be live streaming on Thursday. I believe that is the case. He didn't say no, so hopefully we'll be reacting to the final mixes that we get. Basically, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to make a new folder and throw those mixes in, and those are the final mixes. And then we'll see. We'll see if, I guess for me at this point, like I believe I can beat these mixes. To be honest with you, just to be straight up, I believe I can beat what's been submitted so far. But, you know, even if I do, we'll probably, or even if, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's a part of me that feels like I can beat what I've heard so far, but there's still going to be a winner. Somebody's at least going to get the $100. And yeah, we'll see. So I want to do it where you guys win the $100 and get the mix credit, and we use your mix. Because honestly, I don't want to mix all this stuff. I don't want to be doing the production and all that and mixing it at the same time, because there's just a point where you lose you lose perspective. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back here on Thursday for a day live stream at noon Eastern Standard Time, and then on Friday night at 7, I'm going to announce the winner. Also, so tomorrow afternoon, it'll probably be closer to, I don't know, dinner time tomorrow night. The tracks, I'm going to pick 4, and you guys can vote on that on the YouTube. So, all right, thank you guys for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys on Thursday. All right, later.